What's cool to YouTube? You already know. Big Flacco with a convict's perspective, and you already know what time it is with me. I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with a whole lot of energy, man. So please hit that like, subscribe, comment, do all things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification so you already know what time it is when we're dropping our next fire content. So, as you're gonna see, we're gonna have a special guest once again, man. Biggie from the Working Ex-Con, man. This is a very, very deep, analytical, very intelligent individual, man. You're gonna enjoy this fucking video, man. Let's get to it.
And I got a special guest, man, one of the more articulate and intelligent individuals on YouTube. He has a channel called The Working Ex-Con. Tap into him, man. I mean, if you want some deep content that's going to make you think, that right before bed you're going to be thinking about what he just said for about an hour, tap into tap into Biggie's fucking channel. Hey, everybody knows him. Hey, how you doing, Biggie?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, okay. So we were just talking about a certain thing that's going on, a different new law that came out. Two new laws. One was based upon the fact that if you were no longer the one that committed the murder, right, you're no longer going to be sentenced under a murder charge. And I've met people actually at the gym that got out after 27 years that had that same charge. And as soon as that law came into play, they filed their petition. You have to still file a motion. Don't just assume that they're going to let you out. And now there's also a bill, I think 775, AB 775, that even if it's manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter, they can release you as well.
Right.
We're going to weigh in a little bit of our views. We're going to bounce around probably to some other topics, but I want to hear Biggie's view on this.
Well, it's dual fault because, I mean, you're old enough. I'm old enough to remember we've been around enough heads to recall in the 70s, it was the determinate sentencing law.
Yes.
So you would get a case, but it would, I should say indeterminate, my bad, indeterminate sentencing law. So what they would do is if you committed a murder, you would get 7 to life, or like a robbery, it would be 7 to life. A murder might be, 12 to life, or whatever the case was. And all that was saying was you went before a board. So you could get out in X amount of time, but they could also hold you for the life sentence. And I want to say it was in the early 80s was when they changed it, 83, 85, between 81 and 85, and they created the determinate sentencing law, which was saying any case that you were sentenced on, it had to fall in a sentencing determination. And there was a low, a mid, and a high. So a low would be like a first-time offender, a mid would be, standard for the offense, and a high would be, you got priors, fool, you're a dumbass. So a robbery, like when they say 4, 6, and 8. Mm-hmm. 4 would be the low term, 6 would be the mid term, 8 would be the high term, had you been convicted of a prior robbery. So when we had gone into the system, it was under the determinate law. We've been around plenty of guys who were under the indeterminate law, but who couldn't get out because they were validated, because whatever, they caught other cases, whatever the case may be, they'd go to board. They still had to go to board, but they couldn't get out.
And board wasn't releasing
huh?
During our time era, the board was not releasing anybody that had a life sentence.
Nobody. Under Wilson and Schwarzenegger. So, but it was deceiving because in that period of change, guys would get life sentences. So they would think, well, they're telling me they'll give me a deal and it's 15 to life. So they were thinking on the end of 15, but they weren't understanding that at that time, if you had an L on the end of your sentence, you weren't getting out.
Nope.
It wasn't going to happen. An L under your sentence, it didn't matter if it said 1 to life, you were not getting out, which is why nobody who had been prior to that in the 70s or the 60s who had, because when they enacted the law, it wasn't retroactive. So it didn't affect the guys before that. Thing was, all those guys were validated.
Yeah.
So they weren't going anywhere. and the governor knew that. Like, these guys ain't going nowhere. We just keep shooting them down. It's as simple as that. But you had young guys who would come in on offenses, and they would take cases, and it'd say 7 to life, 12 to life, 15 to life, 20 to life. And you're 20 years old and you think that's a deal because it's like, well, I'm getting out when I'm 40. But at that time, you weren't coming home if you had an L on your sentence.
Yes, exactly. And there's one other thing that nobody's talking about. These life sentences that people are now getting out on, right? They're not promoting from the active side. Very rarely. I've seen one white dude that said he was actively pro from Solano. So if you have a life sentence and you're a Sureño or a Norteño, right? And you're on those lines, anybody that says that they paroled active with a life sentence that the board granted them and they were Norteño or Sureño, they're full of shit, man. I'd
question it. I'd honestly, I would question it under anybody.
Anybody. I would question anybody too.
But the difference is, like, when we went into the system, active wasn't a term.
Exactly, bro. We were told when we went to the system, right? And we're talking about from what we used to affiliate ourselves with, right? You'd have to go to the board. You were not supposed to acknowledge that you were anything, and you were supposed to try to go to the integrated yard or any yard they'd put you on to either go establish it or get off.
Yeah, you couldn't say who you affiliated with.
Nope.
Activity was determined by record, and I'm not saying that people might have paroled who are not on somebody's list, right? But they were like the term we used to use was programming. You've been programming.
Yeah.
So you weren't really with the business, because if you had a 15 to life or a 20 to life or a 25 to life case, if you had, well, one, you'd been validated. Your ass had been in the shoe. If you were out on the lines and you were programming, and I'm not knocking guys that were doing that. I mean, if you were programming and you had the means to go home, you did so. But you had to have been programming. You had to have been adhering to what was CDC's rules and policies at the time.
Otherwise, they would not let you out. There's
no way. You wouldn't have been getting out. You weren't with the business. You weren't with the business and getting out. Yeah,
so like that's what they're doing now is, that's what I've been noticing. Some dudes will be level 4s in the GP side, right? They'll wait till they get to level 3 or level 2 because the points eventually drop, because there's a little bit, the more structure on a GP yard means a little bit less violence, but when the violence happens, it's serious. That's right. The GP level 4s. The SMY level 4s are off the hook, I heard it's the most treacherous. I've talked to people who've been on both sides of it, and they say that the level 4 180 yards are off the fucking chain. Now, GP level 4 180s are off the hook too, but it's more structured to where everybody has a little bit more control of their people. When it happens, it's usually in-house cleanings right now since the end of all hostilities. So
that would be the difference is on a level 4 on an active yard.
You have to
the issues that would create the conflict are minimized.
Yes.
Versus an all out, you can do what you want. You're obviously going to have more violence. The thing is, though, that there's a middle point.
Yeah.
Right. So you had everybody when they got kicked out of the shoes. A lot of people might not be familiar with the way the prison system works. You go in, you get points. So like when I had gone in originally, I was level 2. Yeah, you remember? I don't remember exactly what the points were for that.
19,
Let's say
19 to 27, I think it was, right?
Okay, so to 27. But the thing is, you commit an act of violence and you get whatever. And this was the era when it was integrated yards. So you'd go to the hole, but if you went to an integrated yard,
BTQ,
you're catching them. So you're catching them like 12 at a time. You're catching points 12 at a time. So you'd be a level 4. The thing is, a lot of the guys who'd been sitting in the shoe forever ain't been collecting no points.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't hear about none of them guys in High Desert, Pelican Bay, Salinas Valley. You hear about them in Solano, Old Folsom, because they've been in the hole so long, their points are like 15, 20, and they can't use their gang validation against them. So they're like, okay, well, your points are 27 now. You're going to a level 3, which is a lot more freedom.
You just brought up their topic we're going to talk in a minute. I'm not even going to mention it until we get through this one, but you got something that I'm going to bring up to you that I don't know if you're aware of, but I'll wait. So I hear everything you're saying. Now people have the opportunity, but now, see, back in our days, this is how they used to get everybody to tell. 5 homeboys, 4 homeboys, wherever they're from, black, Mexican, white, whatever, are rolling around. They get some issues with somebody. Someone busts a cap, kills somebody. Next thing you know, all are charged with murder. All are charged with murder. They come in there, and of course, if you're looking at murder at that time, you already knew it was a mandatory life sentence. So what would happen is everybody want to fight their cases. They wouldn't want to tell on anybody. I mean, they wouldn't want to tell on themselves. You know what I'm saying? That the ones that committed the murder. And so what would end up happening is you'd have these dudes that were looking at life, and then the person who did it doesn't want to come forth. Hey, nobody, all they had to do was say, nobody knew I did it. Look, nobody knew I was going to do this. Then you get everybody off. So it put people that were at young ages in a situation to where they're looking at a life sentence, even though they didn't do it, whether they knew it was going to happen or I don't think when people are gangbanging, you never know what's going to happen. You don't never know if you're just going to fight. You never know if you're going to shoot someone to kill somebody. You never know if you're going to stab somebody. You don't really know. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with that.
Yeah, well, sometimes you know, but sometimes
I would know, because I would just say this.
Violence is going to happen, is what I will say.
In the history of my criminal career, I have never been involved in or caught a case that I didn't know that shit was going to happen.
Oh, I know every time too. But I mean,
you knew something was going to happen.
You knew something was going to happen. What I'm saying is sometimes you go into to go rush the rivals, right? Sometimes you're not, like back in our era, it wasn't always about busting caps. You know what I mean? It was more about, you know what I'm saying, with these or with a knife. You know what I mean? So that came kind of later in our era. So sometimes
you knew it could happen.
You knew it could happen, right? But they would still hold everybody accountable. And what would end up happening from there is, people looking at all this time, life sentences, and they're young, they're 18, 19. They're like, man, I'm not the one that pulled the trigger. It was him. Next thing you know, they're getting their sentences down to 12 and 15 years. That's what the DA does. All those sentences, that's what they call plea bargaining. They kind of negotiate. They added all these enhancements because, okay, the 10, 20, 30 law that they had, remember that one? If you just had a gun on you, you know what I mean? You could get a 10-year sentence. And if you had bullets, they're here like another 20 years. Those are all bargaining chips to get what they want.
The trigger law.
Yeah. So that way, you go in for a robbery, carries what? What was it back then? 4, 6, and 9 or something like that? Or 4, 9, and 12? Or 6, 9, 12? Something like that.
I think it was, I want to say it was 4, 6, and 8.
Okay. So you're looking at 8 years, but plus another 10 years because there was a gun involved, even though they didn't use it. And then another 10 years for this and that. So you're looking at 28 years. So when the DA comes back and offers you that 6 years with this enhancement, a different type of enhancement that offers you like 11 years, 15 years, people are jumping on the deals.
Because it's a deal.
Yeah. So now if you were not the one to actually commit the murder, even if you knew something may have happened or not, they can't get you involved unless there was an act that kind of incited that type of took the life, basically. That's how I
okay, no, that's what I got out of that the thing you sent me, right? Yeah. The link you sent me, and I read it. The problem is this: there's going to be a conflict in the way the law is written, because I'm going to give you a perfect example. It's called what's it called? It's called transitory possession, which is a law that they passed in late 90s, early 2000s. The law transitory possession was basically a gang law. It's a little heard of gang law. But basically what it was this is I'm riding around and I got this 20-year-old in the car with me. He's got the gun. And you know this because back in the day, cop pulls us over. That 20-year-old at our age now is going to say, he didn't know I had it on me. That's mine.
Yeah.
They're going to let us go. He's got to go on a gun charge. Okay, we go bail him out. He can fight it from the streets. They got you with a gun, though. You're going to do 6 months. First offense, you're going to do 6 months. Transitory possession was a gun law, though, or it was a gang law that they passed, which was saying that they recognized people with gang ties. The younger person had a reasonable interest in claiming it was his.
Oh, wow.
So what they would do is charge both of you.
Yeah.
And the only way either one could get out is to say it was the other one.
That's
Right? Okay, but that's at odds with what the bill they just passed is, because the transitory possession law is still on the books. But you just passed a law that says if I don't know about it, that's not on me.
Yeah.
If my girlfriend has a kilo of cocaine in her purse, I didn't know she had that on her.
You know, that's going to be a good defense. Like you could be driving a car and somebody could be in your trunk. Well, I didn't know it was there. So I had like numerous people in my car. You know what I mean?
But that was the thing. That's why they created the transitory possession law, is that anybody with a reasonable understanding of how these groups work is going to know there's no way that could have transpired without that happening.
It seems like to me, right, with all the overcrowding, they're closing down 6 prisons. It seems like they just want to find reasons to get people out, which I understand. So they're looking at all different cases that they think, you know what, man, we think this person deserves a second chance, third chance. So we looked at the statistics. The average age of someone incarcerated is 20 years old. That's 20 years old, guys. The average woman who's in prison for murder, 72% of the women did not commit the actual murder. That's not to say that they
were just with the person that did.
Yes. So I still, okay, look, I'm a civilian today. It's hard for me to sit there and say, I do think that people still need to be accountable for their actions. We need rules of conduct in a society, which are laws. Otherwise it'd be all fucking out anarchy. So it's just, the only problem I have is sometimes determining what sentence is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to just give people a pass for their actions, because a lot of times that happens with certain people. So that's the hard part as far as coming into as far as being an ex-con, saying, okay, I think this person deserves this much time. You know what I mean? That's the hardest part I have as far as determining what I think would be a just sentence.
I'm not what do they call abolitionist. I'm not an abolitionist. I don't believe that prisons shouldn't exist. And that's having served,
So we
decades.
We believe that we need prisons. Okay, we both agree on that.
They should exist. There's a reason for them existing. I believe the political nature should be removed from it, for one.
Yes. But
also, like, our era was probably the worst one to grow up in, because the crackdown on gang crimes, on violence, because that was the most violent era to have grown up in, was between 85 and 95. And if you were incarcerated in that time, you know that to be true. And I'm not saying it's still not violent. What I'm saying is the level of it at that period was so bad that they created the trigger lock law, the 3 strikes law. And if you want an educational redundancy, they created a 3 strikes law because of the whole thing that happened with
Molly class and all that.
Yeah, Richard Allen Davis.
We already had that on the ballot. They used that case to fucking help propagate that agenda.
Okay, but here's the thing. California already had the Habitual Criminal Act,
yes,
which was a 25 to life law. So you already had the law in existence. It was just under a different name.
Yeah.
So all you did was created a new name for an existing law and sentenced a bunch of people that probably shouldn't have been sentenced.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's weird is there's certain terminology that we could read and define, and even through Black's Law, dictionary, which I'm sure all of us have read that, right? That have been in prison. Some of these cases, I'd be like, well, it says this is going to be aiding and abetting, and it carries this much time. But you try to present that, then they have laws and shepherdized cases that just conflict everything, and they make it so confusing that you could have a justified case and present something. Well, according to the law, it says here. Then they go, well, according to the law here, it's whatever the judge wants to decide, and that's the unfortunate thing. Now,
and that's a huge part of the problem and that's what I was saying about the transitory law possession or the transitory possession law is you can't pass a bill that does away with certain sentencing, yet have contradictory laws on the books still, because it's still going to happen. It's just going to happen under another name.
Okay, I got something that's really good right now, though. Watch this. So we already know about the end all hostilities, right? Okay. Todd Asker was one of the ones that filed that, along with several other people that we know of. Some of them we personally know of. Okay, which I'm not in a disagreement. I think everybody deserves to have mainline opportunities, regardless of their affiliations or not, which we're not going to discuss them. But a case happened this November that I think is going to have a ripple effect in the system right now because of all the violence and killings that are happening. Yes, it's less violent as far as groups going at it with each other. You don't hear about riots and melees like you used to, but you hear about a lot of killings are happening because they're all in-house cleanups within these particular groups. Now, Todd Oscar's been in the hole. Okay, he was only on the line for 15 or 18 months. He filed a motion, got it to the Supreme Courts in San Francisco, the federal courts, about them incarcerating him for retaliation, him being in the hole, because they can't lock you up for gang affiliations no more.
That's not why they locked him up.
They lost his case. He lost it. Here is
because that's not why they locked him up.
Exactly. So that's what they're going to, what I'm saying is I think they're going to start doing that. They're letting all this stuff transpire. They're going to build cases on those that they feel that are leadership, have leadership roles in these groups, and they're going to slam everybody down, and they're going to use that case right there to lock everybody up again. Watch.
Well, but this is the thing, is the precedence for the case.
Yes.
And this is what a lot of people don't understand. They don't equate. Is you and I, okay, we endured Todd Asker, whomever you want to cite as being the individual. We suffered long terms, isolated in the shoe housing unit because of gang validation.
Yeah.
And the specific thing was it was an indeterminate shoe.
Yep.
At that time, in that era, the only two ways out of an indeterminate shoe for a gang validation was to snitch or to die. That was it.
And then it changed around 2004.
They changed, but this is what a lot of people don't know about. There is another indeterminate sentencing for a shoe.
Yep, for violence.
For violence.
Yep.
Because I've been around a lot of Afrikaans.
They get off with the cops and they lock you up indeterminately.
That they would get off with the police. They would get off. They would be given an indeterminate shoe under the Violence Act.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with gangs. All we have to do is we have reason to believe, and mind you, we grew up in an era where there was no S&Y. So there were people telling on the yards that we were on. And guys were getting validated off information on the yards we were on. There were people telling. So there's people out there that everybody think is quote unquote active. No, there's people out there telling.
Yes, 100%.
And if you can be associated reasonably with the violence that is occurring, you can be given an indeterminate shoe under the Violence Act.
Exactly what happened.
And all they're going to do is repeat the process under a new thing. And if it took these guys 30 years to overturn gang validations, they're all going to be dead by the time they overturn the violence, because it's going to take the same amount of time.
That's exactly what's going on now, right now. That's exactly what I'm forecalling. I think that's why they're doing all this reintegration stuff. And I'm pretty sure you've heard all the different stories about the Bulldogs being sent here. They're going to put SNYs groups out here. I think it's being done on purpose to build these violent cases to where they could justify locking these dudes up.
They will get you under the violence. They will sentence you to an indeterminate violent shoe term. You can only go up to ICC every 6 years. And if they believe you are still predicated to violent acts, they can deny you. And there's nothing you can do about it other than appeal it in the courts. And if it took 30 years to do that for indeterminate gang validation, which was there were men who were validated for no other reason than people had nobody else to tell on. So they said, you're a gang member.
Yeah. Half the dudes, I say more than half the dudes were not actually gang members or even of anything.
They weren't even clicked up.
Nope.
And if it took 30 years to overturn that, you're talking about a predicated nature to violence, which is proven by the acts that are continuously committed. You're going to have at least 30 more years to fight that one. Minimum.
Yes.
Minimum.
So,
and because it is it's a security threat, you're going to have a lot harder time fighting that.
That's why when they started reintegrating, I was like, there are reasons I was trying to figure out why they were doing what they were doing, right? And you're like, I mean, because it's going to bring violence, it's going to bring bloodshed. Look at what's happened. They've sent them everywhere: Folsom, California City, Pelican Bay, High Desert, Ironwood. They've sent the Bulldogs. That's the first step. They're going to start putting the SNYs, I've heard. Now, at first, I was trying to figure out, this made no sense to me. When I read that Todd Ashford case and the reasons why they locked him up, I said, this makes complete sense to me. These acts that are happening, someone's going to be telling, they're going to say it came from this dude, and that's going to be a point to fucking lock him up in the shoe. So CDC knows CDCR, I'm under the old fucking vanguard of CDC, what we used to call them, knows exactly what they're doing. And for them to lose that case to the inmates was a blow on their union and their ego, because they put a lot of money forth on that case to try to fight it.
But look, they realized, look, history repeats itself. They're consolidating the system, right?
To the next
because what pre 90s, it was only like it was a minimal amount of prisons. So they're consolidating the prison, which is going to increase the risk of conflict due to violence, yes, which is going to be your new indeterminate shoe. Okay, we can't get you on gang validation. We sure as hell can get you for association to incite violence.
Yeah.
Go sit down for that. Watch how many people start telling. And you're going to have the exact same thing we created. They're going to have to expand the prison system again, which works in the union's favor, which is the whole reason that
we need to build new prisons to house them. We can't use these old prisons right now.
You don't hear about the public outcry from CDC in the way that we did in 99. It's California's worst of the worst. You don't hear about that. Like, those aren't even commercials anymore, right? Give it another 5 years. I bet you start seeing those commercials.
Yeah, so it's because what's going to happen is someone's going to benefit from those contracts to build new prisons. They're going to shut down these older prisons, and they're going to, they're going to say we have the need to build more prisons because of this going on. We can't use these old facilities. And someone, like I said, they're private donors, they're private fucking, all these people benefit. A prison is a big money making business, guys. From the vendors to the doctors to all the stuff, everybody gets paid in the communities where they put these prisons. So that's why they always put these prisons now that are new in rural areas, because the communities are not going to fight back any backlash of what's going on in that prison. They're going to be more supportive of the prison officials there, because it's how they generate their income. Look at what happened. Look what happened in Susanville. They've been literally crying about them closing down Susanville because it affected their community. They go into these communities. We promise to buy everything local. We promise to do this. We promise to do that. You know, that whole prison being closed down has affected that. And it makes no sense because I heard that Susanville facility has been really upgraded. And not only that, they have a fire camp that's right there in fucking fire zones. You know what I mean? Right there. You know, but the thing about that I did on another video is this. People don't realize that the first county to file that motion to recall Governor Newsom was in that county, believe it or not. And a sergeant from Susanville had something to do with it. So a lot of what happened there in Susanville, there's conspiracy theories that Newsom has some personal agendas and issues about it. It's one of those touchy subjects, man, but it really
it's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it past. It wouldn't be the first government official to do get backs when they had the opportunity.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but the overlying factor is long term. What's the effect it's going to have?
It's going to have
because you're already sitting on. Remember, they're keeping a lot of people in county jails. Aren't even being sent to prison.
Yeah,
you got guys doing 5-year bids in county.
That's ridiculous, man. That should be a fucking, to me, that should be a violation of human rights because there's no benefits to being in the county jail. There's no type of incentives to rehabilitate yourself. You get offered nothing.
How many guys have you known? I've known guys that have been in county and took the prison term just to get out of county.
I did that too. I was like, get me out of here. Back then, I'd take an extra year just to go leave. You know what I mean?
Just let me out of here. I'm tired of being here because the county is going to extort you worse than the state does.
The county is terrible, man. The county, like, it's cool that you're close to your family, but it's like the eating's not as good. The canteen's terrible. You got like $1.50 for a top ramen soup.
Yeah.
And there's no programs. There's no incentives there. Prison, I mean, I'm getting calls from people that are in the hole, bro. Can you imagine that? A dude in Folsom, a couple of them, they hit me up from the hole with tablets, bro. They're in the hole with a tablet. You know what I mean? Called me on their tablet, bro. Sending me messages. That's crazy. I mean, I'm glad they got their certain rights back, right? But that's crazy.
That's history repeating itself, though, because pre 90, 89,
okay,
they used to still have TVs in the hole.
They had them in the 90s.
They redid that later on, but they used to have TVs in the hole. And you used to be able to use the phone, the monitored phone, right?
Yeah.
Then they took that. And it was fought for. They gave the TVs back, but they restricted the phone due to gang shit and all that. So they eliminated the phone in the hole. All they did was bring that back.
Yeah.
This is just history repeating itself. And
there's a financial gain to everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, younger guys won't get it, but I mean, anybody's been around long enough. This is, I mean, the technology is different, but the reality is what is occurring is just this is the 70s and 80s repeating itself.
60s and 70s, they didn't have shit. They had to fucking fight for that, man. I was told that because they had to fight for that. I mean, all the groups did. It's crazy though, man. I mean, the public just needs to be aware of it and pay attention because, the prison system is I think the one system, and the peace officers union in general, which is all law enforcement, which we need law enforcement agents, right? But like I said, the thing that's bad about all of them, they start to become political. You know what I'm saying? I think any of these unions that have like I think they have to be non-political. I think that they should be able to give be private donors or do any of this towards any of these politicians because that always fucking fucks everybody up, man. You know what I mean? I get if you're a private business owner and you want to be a donor, but I think as far as like unions and whatnot, because if you're part of a union, you may not agree with what they're putting out there, what they're supporting. I think unions need to be non-political. You know what I mean? Personally. You know what I'm saying? Because
it'd work.
Huh?
It'd work.
It'd work, right?
Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on.
As you guys see, man, Biggie's a very, very intelligent dude. You know what I'm saying? And his best lives are when he's drinking, guys. Those are the most best lives I've seen. Besides the ones that we used to have on Convicts Perspective, was when Biggie's with his family and they're having a good time. And I've been over there. I got to meet his family. I got to meet his youngest daughter. Great family. Very, we're very respectful, very hospitable. You know what I mean? And actually got to have a good time when I went out there. It's been a while. And I was like, man, I got to get homeboy on, man. You know, well, the homeboy sent me some stuff.
Rule number one, don't use all the time.
I was just talking about how your lives when you're drunk are the best lives.
Who's that?
You.
Oh no.
Then you erase them like 5 minutes later.
I delete them.
You delete them. Like, man. Nah, man. Yeah, these are definitely good topics, man. You know, like this isn't a prison channel, but it does affect the community. I don't think people realize that, man. And nowadays, there's either most people are affected with a family member that's either a drug addict or in jail. That's the truth. Yeah. And there are people. There's a difference between sociopaths that have no ability to rehabilitate themselves and those that just have been led down the wrong path of their life. You know what I mean? I think that most people, it's a matter of when they mature and they can get out and make changes. Like, look at what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You went to prison at a young age. You know what I'm saying? Really young. You went from YA to prison. Caught a lot of time. And now you've been out, what, about 15 years? 14 years?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And you got a job. You're taking care of your family. You just had how's your daughter now? About 2.5?
Yeah, she's about 2.5. My second youngest is 4. And then I got a 16 and a 15-year-old.
Some of us take longer to get it. Some of us are waiting for that chance. You know what I mean? So like, when you see people on here that have done positive, that have been out for a long time, man, that rings volumes because a lot of us at one time thought that we were never going to go home. You know what I'm saying? Really, I mean, real talk. I thought I was never going to get home.
But there's a lot of people too that they don't see that there's viable options.
Yes.
They don't get, and I mean, this is even pre being incarcerated, and it's something that I say a lot, and like people can argue with, but it's like, what are we doing to affect the communities in which we're raised that can give guys, and not to plug another channel, man, but that dude, I don't know if you ever seen him, John Bernthal.
No, what's the channel called?
I think it's John Bernthal. He's an actor. He's the guy that did The Punisher, right? But he's got a YouTube channel and he interviews guys, and he interviewed that dude Richard Cabral, who's a Southerner.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, old boy talking about his experience growing up and his experience in prison and his what's up, son, and his experience waking up. And he's an actor. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Dile hi.
Grown up, man. Grown up.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't even talking last time. What? Huh?
No. Yeah. He won't shut up now. What do you want? Can you play with it? You want to play with a water bottle? Okay, go play with the water bottle.
I'm gonna let you what you're saying right now, I'm gonna let you close this out because we've been on for about 40 minutes. So that way you can get to your family, because it's not every day that you get off this early. That's why I grabbed you before they got home. Now they're home. So I'll let you close this off with final thoughts, bro.
If you knew better, you'd do better. So if you're not doing better, go find out how to do better and keep moving forward in small steps, big steps, and leaps and bounds.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate having you on. As always, check him out. The Working Ex-Con. He goes by Biggie, or just the Working Ex-Con.